All right, Rakem Sekou, we've got a lot of questions today. Let me just first introduce myself. I'm Leslie Tavernier. I am a dark feminine love coach, and I help women who suffer from anxious attachment to have a secure relationship with their avoidant man. Yes, it is possible because that's what I have with my dark masculine man, Rakem Sekou. So before we get into the questions today, Rakem, can you please introduce yourself to my listeners?
Yeah, Rakim Sekou. I'm a relationship coach, metaphysician, co-founder of Pantheon Spiritual Community, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So I got a lot of questions for you today. We are going to be talking about Sprinkle Sprinkle. We are going to be talking about Yada Awakening. We're going to be talking about women getting with men just for money. But before we even get into that, I have a few other questions to ask you. And so we're going to talk about some social media stuff that I've been seeing. Um, so the first question that I have here is that, and I saw this on the Breakfast Club. There was an interview that Cardi B was having on the Breakfast Club, and she was talking about how she learned the hard way that women are not to be trusted. And so she was saying that a lot of the women that were her friends that smiled in her face, those same women went and slept with her husband behind her back. So I know that this is not something that is unique to Cardi B. This happens to a lot of women. So my question to you, Rakim, is it true that women cannot trust one another?
Um, well, so in the concept of trust, I don't believe that the way people define trust is the way you should look at it. What she's talking about, and what most people talk about, is called blind trust, which is just you saying, okay, I trust this person, and what that means is they're never going to do anything that's going to violate a major tenet or principle that I believe in. And that's not really what trust is about. What trust is about is understanding the quality and character of the people that are around you and understanding that they're going to operate within the quality of their character. So I trust that, my friends are going to be who they've always shown themselves to be. I trust that my girlfriend's going to show up in the way that is representative of the quality of her character, which includes how she's shown up in the past to other boyfriends, the way she's treated me, that all those things.
Mhm.
So, the way she's using the word trust and the way most people use it, it's not really meant to be used in that way. There's no such thing as blind trust. Anybody will screw you over.
Mhm.
That's more human nature. But they're not operating in a way that's different than who they've always been. They've always had that quality of character where if the right situation presented itself, they would, prioritize themselves over you. And human beings are that way. Human beings are going to prioritize themselves over other people. That's the way we always are. So her putting it that way
Mhm.
isn't really an accurate, depiction of what trust is. Now, in terms of her girlfriends having sex with her husband behind her back, I mean, that's always been a thing.
Mhm.
Women have always been drawn to the men that have already been vetted and already been chosen by other women. And men are the same way. Like, if you choose somebody and, you decide to be with that person, the women around you who are close to you in your circle, whatever, are going to assume that you've already vetted that person to a degree. They're going
Mhm.
to assume that the sex is good. They're going to assume that he's treating you in a good way. And a lot of women aren't really great at discerning the qualities within men and people in general. You see what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so if somebody else vets, the person for you, then you're going to have more of a draw or attraction to you. I'm not saying it's the right thing for them to do to sleep with her husband. That's not the right thing to do. But I'm saying people are drawn to. That's why we look for referrals when before we hire a lawyer or whatever. Like we're looking for somebody else to do the vetting of this person. And once they're vetted, we tend to have more of a draw or attraction to them. But the last thing I'll say on that is human beings aren't monogamous, and this is what I'm talking about. Um, you know, People have attractions for each other. They're going to have sex with each other. And your particular principle or your protocol for how things should be in relationships is not what people are going to necessarily follow. Everybody's got their own principle. You see what I'm saying? There is no universal morality. There is no universal code of ethics that everybody follows. There is no such thing as an actual girl code or an actual, boy code. Those
Mhm.
things don't actually exist. What exists is what people want for themselves, and they're going to operate in the best way to get whatever they want. So, I agree she shouldn't have blind trust for anybody. You
Mm,
know, she couldn't trust her husband either. He was having sex with a bunch of people behind her back, but you know, he's always shown who he was. So
mhm.
she should have never, quote unquote, blind trusted him in that way to begin with. That's really on her.
Hmm. So then, should married women be suspicious of their girlfriends and keep their girlfriends away from their husband because there's a likelihood that their girlfriend will sleep with their husband?
Well, you know, married women, it's your responsibility to make sure that you keep your family tight. And so, you know, you have to not be naive when
Mhm.
dealing with people, when, you know, whether it's girlfriends or family members or whoever it is, like you can't walk around naive. So if fidelity is important to you, then it's your responsibility as a woman to ensure that, you know, you create an environment, that you treat your husband a certain way, that you watch the people who are around you and your family.
Mhm.
It's the same thing. If you don't want people messing around with your kids, it's really up to you. I don't care if it's family or friends or whatever. Like, you have to be on the lookout, and you have to have a watchful eye over all these people in your environment. That's the way it is. There's no, like I said, there's no such thing as this universal blind trust. That's not how it works.
Okay.
Just because somebody's your friend or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or family or whatever it is, doesn't mean they won't violate one of your personal principles or violate something that you hold dear. So these women, it's their responsibility to ensure that they create an environment and that they watch over their people. Same thing when it's men, and the other on the other side, men are responsible to make sure that, you know, your boys and your family don't violate you, don't violate your wife, don't violate your children. It's all on you.
Okay. Okay. All right. So recently on TikTok, I came across a man who was saying to women that men just want to fuck and that therefore, okay, well, let's just stop there. He was saying men just want to fuck. That's just the truth of it. And a lot of the women, they were agreeing with him, and they were then saying, you know what, we agree with you, and so therefore that's why we should focus on just getting the bag because men just want sex, so we should make sure we get the money. So, what are your thoughts on that? Is it true that men just want to fuck?
But yeah, all human beings want to have sex.
Okay.
That's a priority for all human beings. What he's more talking about, he's talking about monogamous culture. So what he's saying is that, look, um, you know, men, we have a desire to have sex frequently,
Mhm.
and women do too. And you know, you shouldn't be naive to the fact that that's a priority for human beings. And so, you know, monogamous culture makes it so that I need to tell you a story and pretend to be the fantasy so that you'll pay attention to me and that you'll possibly open up to me. Like, that's what monogamous culture is really about. You got to present yourself one way. You got to put the mask on. You can't come with your true intentions. And so that's what he's really describing. You know, he's trying to let the women know, like, look, it's monogamous culture that creates an environment where we have to pretend to like you. We've got to pretend to do all these things when it is when we really want to have sex. Now, in terms of his statement, like, men just want to have sex. In terms of his statement where men just want to have sex, that's not really entirely true. What he's saying is there's going to be women that men are not interested in being in a relationship with,
Mhm.
right? And so for those women, the men still might want to have sex with them.
Mhm.
Now, there are women out there where the men, they want to be in relationship with them. And so with those women, the men are going to show up, they're going to court those women, they're going to act, you know, accordingly or act different with those women. So no, there's women that men just want to have sex with because they're not interested in relationship. And there's women out there that they are interested in relationship with, and they'll do all the things. The important thing for you as a woman is to understand and know the difference. Women do the same exact thing. I know women who they've entertained guys and they've had no intention at all on being with them in a relationship or being with them committed or long term, but they didn't tell the guy that.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? They just wanted the money, or they just wanted the sex, or they just wanted access or access to his circle or his network or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Or they didn't want to be alone or whatever it is. So this is a human thing. It's not a guy thing like guys just want to have sex or whatever. No, women are the same way. That's why you see a trend of a lot of older women that are having sex with younger men.
Mhm.
They're not really trying to marry these guys. They're just trying to. It's like Stella got her groove back type of thing. They're
Mhm.
just trying to have sex or trying to have companionship and those types of things. So it's really a human thing. It's not just a man trying to have sex, and these men are not interested in marriage. No, men are interested in marriage. men are interested in long-term relationships, just like some women are, but it's got to be the right person.
Mhm. So two more social media questions. So I came across another influencer who her main message to women who are in relationship with an avoidant man is that the best way to deal with these men is to be a brat or to basically be a bitch. Don't put up with his shit. And it's the idea that men are actually more attracted to brats, according to the way she defines it. So, what do you think about that advice? Should women be a brat when relating with an avoidant man?
Well, there are going to be some men who are attracted to women who act that way
Mhm.
because of the man's traumas. So if the man had a toxic mother, right, where she was a disciplinarian and she was always yelling at him and stuff like that, there's a chance that he's going to be more drawn to a woman like that, a woman who's bratty, a woman who's abusive, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically abusive in that way. So if you're a woman and you're going to be a brat in that way, that method will work when you're with a toxic, like a hurt man. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like somebody who's been hurt as a child in that way by his mother. But in general, I mean, that's not really going to get you, a solid, balanced man. That's not going to get you a healed man. You see what I'm saying? So it really depends, and it works the same way with men. There's some women who are drawn to toxic men, and the men act toxic and they act crazy on purpose because they've been told that that's going to keep the woman attracted to him. And
Mhm.
that works for women who, again, they've had a hard time growing up. They could probably have father issues, or mother issues or whatever, and therefore they're drawn to this kind of toxicity where the man is ghosting them, intermittently ghosting them and treating them badly and always arguing and cursing them out and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
they're just used to that behavior because of their childhood. So, yeah, that method could work for men who have been abused as little boys by their mothers.
Okay. I had a client once who she gave an ultimatum to her dark masculine man, and she told him, "Look, if you don't be monogamous with me and stop messing around with these other women, then our relationship is over." And he said, "Okay, the relationship is over." And then she had a meltdown. So sometimes women they try that method. They try to, do the ultimatum thing, like I'm not going to put up with your shit. And then the man's like, "Okay, well, I'm out." So, what do you have to say about that, Raquel?
I think the ultimatum thing is fine if you're really in your confidence like that as a man or a woman.
Okay.
So if you're a woman and you really got it like that, like you don't really care about your dark masculine man if he stays or leaves because you have other men, or you know that you'll be able to attract other men or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and you want to be exclusive with somebody, then I think it's fine to let people know, like, look, I'm looking for exclusivity. I'm not really trying to date around or date loosely. If you can be in a committed relationship, then we can be together. If not, then I'm out.
Mhm.
In the case that you're talking about, she didn't really have that confidence. She thought that by you know, being psychologically abusive to him and giving him an ultimatum. That's what an ultimatum is in that particular scenario,
Mhm.
that she was going to be able to manipulate him into staying with her. But she didn't understand that because she was already abusive to her dark masculine before, because he's already got a bunch of options, like that's not going to work on him. And that's not going to work on a lot of dark masculine.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And even if it does work, and this is for men and for women, even if you do manipulate your partner into staying with you out of fear or intimidation, it might work in the short term. It doesn't mean that they're going to stay in the long term.
Mhm.
They're going to remember that you manipulated them. They're going to remember that you gave them an ultimatum. And at some point down the line, it's very possible that they're going to get you back by either leaving you or cheating on you or violated you in some way, or when the tables turn and they're up and you're down, by manipulating you in the same way. So, you have to you have to be about that life. If you're about manipulation and you're about control and you're about limiting people's options, then make sure you're okay with that when people do the same thing to you.
Mhm. I know that in the past you said that the dark feminine, she's very strict. And so when I think of the dark feminine, I think of someone like Judge Judy, who's, the way she expresses herself in the courtrooms, she's very firm, she's very strict, and that can be very sexy to a lot of men. So how do you distinguish between sort of like being a brat or a bitch versus just being, very firm and strict as a woman?
Well, yeah, you can be firm and strict as a woman. I mean, that's just being clear on what you want. You see what I'm saying? The example you gave, the woman had a meltdown when the dark masculine man left, right? That
Yep.
means that just being manipulative. You didn't really have the leverage to have an exclusive situation for him. He told you he didn't want to be exclusive, yet you still tried to psychologically abuse him into being exclusive with you. You see what I'm saying? So you weren't really about that life. The person that you're talking about, like the say a Judge Judy situation where she's more firm, she's just clear on who she is and what she wants, and it just is what it is. And if her man leaves because he doesn't want to be a part of her life or follow her her protocols or whatever, or boundaries, then she's going to be fine with that. She might be hurt or whatever, but at the end of the day, she'll be fine with it. So it's really about, within yourself if you're really about that life. Within yourself if you're really cool with setting up these boundaries and you're cool being firm versus just trying to be manipulative. You see what I'm saying? Because you got to be okay when things don't go the way you want. So
Mm.
if you say, if you don't do this, I'm out, and the person says, okay, I'm not going to do it, then make sure you're cool with it. But
Mm.
if you're not cool with it, it shows that you were just being manipulative.
Yeah. Yeah. So you recently sent me a TikTok video by a woman named Danielle Lavergo, and it appears that she was talking about you, because she was saying that there's a man on TikTok talking about the dark feminine and saying he can identify a dark feminine woman just by looking at her profile. And she was saying to the women, like, please don't follow men like this because no man should be advising women on how to be a woman. So what are your thoughts on that, Rakim?
Yeah, and I understand that. I mean, basically, if you're on TikTok, you're trying to make money in some particular kind of way. If you're an influencer on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, for me, for example, I do coaching. So one of the ways that I get clients is by doing videos. If they vibe with who I am and my philosophy, they tend to do a call with me and we can kind of see what's up, right? Other people, they either do coaching or they might just be making money off of views off of TikTok. So yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people who are trying to like kind of go against the competition. So there's a lot of women out there who say, hey, don't listen to men who talk about women because men don't understand women,
Mhm.
right? And so that's a valid argument. A lot of men don't understand women. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And I've done the same thing too before in the past. Like I've told people, don't listen to somebody who's never been married talk about what marriage is and how you're supposed to get married. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
that's something that we do as influencers online.
Mhm.
That's just her particular niche. Her niche is to basically reduce men and to basically say they don't have any understanding of women and therefore should be reduced to like some kind of lower level and they
Mhm.
don't have any kind of knowledge or input. In general, that's not true. You see what
Mhm.
I'm saying? It depends on the person. It depends on their expertise. That's like saying like don't listen to a gynecologist just because he's not a woman. Like that's not how life works.
Mhm.
If somebody has a particular training or expertise in a particular thing, then they're going to be able to offer you support or offer you advice. If they don't have training or understanding, then yeah, it's going to be something that's harmful. In her case, because she's offering that kind of like blanket advice, like women don't listen to men at all, that kind of thing. She's potentially damaging the women who are listening to that because that's not true across the board. There are a number of men who are going to be able to offer really, really good advice to women about dating, about relationships, about marriage. Just like there's a lot of women who can offer men a lot of good advice about dating, relationships and marriage and that kind of stuff. So it really depends on the person, but it's the viewer's responsibility. The person watching the videos, the person, who are following these people, it's their responsibility to determine who's who and what's what.
Mhm.
Even if you follow a particular influencer, it doesn't mean that everything that they say is going to be something you agree with or that you should utilize. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, those things happen frequently. I've done that before. She's doing that, to increase her platform. And on top of all that, people need content.
Mhm.
So a woman influencer like that, who again is against men in general, if she's going to come across a video like mine, it's like prime content to use for her
Mhm.
platform. She needs to find men like me. She needs to
Mhm.
find men who are talking about women, advising women, that kind of stuff. So she has fuel and fodder to give to her followers.
Mhm. Makes sense. And I think it's hypocritical too, because there's women influencers like Dr. Cheyenne Bryant and Ebony K. Williams and various others who, you know, they feel that they're qualified to advise men like Nick Cannon and Cam Newton and Shannon Sharp. Like they give advice to men all the time, even though they themselves may not even be in a relationship, and they get praised by millions of women for doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great example. You know, Dr. Brian and Ebony K. Williams, I mean, not only are they not married, but they're not even in relationships.
Mhm.
Well, they've never even had successful relationships, successful marriages, yet they give advice to men and to women. And so
Mhm.
the question is, well, where are your qualifications? I mean, the bottom line is, you know, people listen to who they want to listen to. You
Yeah.
know, in America, like people are focused on folks that they're entertained by. They're
Mhm.
not really focused on like who's like really telling the truth or who's going to really be able to advise them per se. Like people do some of that,
Mhm.
right? But people are also interested in people who are just entertaining. And so Dr. Cheyenne Bryant and Ebony K. Williams, these are beautiful black women.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's the main reason why people even listen to what they're saying. It's because they're presentable to the eyes first and foremost. Ebony K. Williams is very eloquent in terms of the way she speaks. You
Yes.
see, and so that's attractive. And then she's talking about some of the key issues, right? You know, when it comes to relationships and men and women. And so people are going to tune in. There's a
Mhm.
lot of influencers like that. Derek Jackson's like that, you know, just
Mhm.
like a handsome guy, very muscular. You know, what are his qualifications? You know, when you look at his resume at this point, really none.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Cheating on his wife, the whole thing. But, you know, he's somebody who's attractive. The women want to get with him. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
he's going to have people who follow him. And he's saying all the key points.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that's what it really boils down to kind of when you look at social media is people are going to be drawn to people that they're attracted to and that are entertaining and stuff like that. It's really not always about qualifications and experience. And so that's why somebody like, you know, Dr. Bryant can get away with advising men on
Mhm.
marriage, and advising people on marriage and stuff like that when they don't really have any experience themselves with it, like no experience. You see
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And that's where they come from. The thing is, I want to say when it comes to marriage is this, and the reason why experience is important is because when you're in something, it's deeper than what it looks like on the surface,
Mhm.
right? Like the actual problems and issues that you deal with inside of a marriage go way beyond like some of the cliche things that people talk about, like, oh, be responsible and show up and do this. No, it's a lot deeper than that. When you've been married for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, like there's some other factors at play that only married people will really understand. There's
Mhm.
some ways that you're going to feel. There's some ways that your body changes and shifts. There's some ways that you're going to, you know, look at your partner, you know, over time, that ebbs and flows that you'll only really understand if you've been married. And so that's why experience is very important. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But a lot of these influencers, especially the one that you talked about before in the last question, like these are just people talking.
Mhm.
You know, they don't really have like they don't have anything to show for what they're explaining,
Mhm.
right? Like the girl you talked about before, he was blasting me.
Mhm.
Like, so what does she really have to show for, you know, what she's really expressing to women? You see what I'm saying? And maybe she does have something. I don't know. Most of these influencers don't really have anything going on in their life
Mhm.
besides what they're doing online.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to just circle back to a question that I asked you about in a previous episode, which is where I was saying that I think that men have an easier time with polyamory. Specifically, I think you as has an easy you have an easier time than your wife, I believe. And here's why I say that, because I've seen your wife, Kenya, go through a great deal of suffering in polyamory. She's gone through long periods of time without having sex with her second husband. They've had issues. They've had a lot of things that they've had to work through and are still working through. And I've seen her experience a lot of pain. Even when you had one of your partners living at the house with you, Kenya and that partner were going at it constantly, and you were so stressed out that you ended up in the hospital and all this kind of thing. And so I still feel like, um, overall, I feel like your wife has had a much harder time. And in general, I think women have a harder time with polyamory than with men. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, you just said I was so stressed that I was in the hospital about
Well,
it.
yeah, but that okay.
Is that
Yes, you end up in the hospital. But I still feel like emotionally, like the sadness and the hurt and the disappointment and going without sex. I feel like that's something that Kenya has more struggled with than you.
yeah, I mean, I would look at it like this. I just feel I'm better at relationships than Kenya is.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, I feel like I relate to women very well. Kenya's very picky, very choosy about who she's with.
True.
Um, she's very picky and choosy when it comes to sex in a lot of ways. I'm not that way. I'm more of a free spirit.
Mm,
Like I'm when I talk about free spirits, like I'm very much like that.
okay.
So I'm a really solid man. I'm easy to talk to. I'm very healing when I'm around women. Like on the interview, I'm not sure if you saw the interview that Kenya and Danique did, but Kenya asked, "Well, how has it been you being with Rakim?" And she said it's the most healing and peaceful relationship I've ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I bring that quality to relationships. I bring that quality to women. So a man like me who's cultivated, who understands how to communicate with women, who is very tantric in terms of how he, deals with his sexuality and those types of things, is going to have an easier time connecting with women. And on top of that, I see the beauty in most all women. Like that's one of the skills I had to develop as a tantric practitioner, because women would come to me for healing and to be more orgasmic and those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I'm able to be successful in doing that with my clients is because I actually see the beauty in them. And so I'm helping to bring that out. So I just feel like who I am as a man, I'm going to be more successful at polyamory, be more successful with relationships and those types of things than the average man and, Kenya and a lot of women,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have the same kind of hangups. You see what I'm saying? I'm okay with, my woman having other men. I don't want to get into a bunch of arguments about whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not built that way. You see what I'm saying? So, when I look at Kenya, she's more argumentative and she wants things a particular way. And like I said, she's more picky and choosy. Yeah, those people are going to have a harder time in polyamory relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like that. I've always had scores upon scores upon scores of women who wanted to date me and be with me and wanted to marry me and be around me. And I attribute that to just who I am as a man. And it's not about bragging about any of that kind of stuff. It's just who I am. Like
Mm-hmm.
the polyamorous lifestyle, I really am about that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be monogamous. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean I won't be exclusive for periods of time, but I'm not a monogamous man. I am an actual open man. You see what I'm saying? And so that's because I live and breathe this stuff. Like I'm the one, within our family, within our community, who's written the books on open relating. I've written 2 books on open relating, The
Mm-hmm.
Art of Open Relating, Volume 1 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Like I'm about that lifestyle. So of course Rakim's gonna have, an easier time. This is what I teach, this is what I talk about, it's what I live. You see what I'm saying? So again, Kenya's very skilled at relationships in terms of understanding the dynamics of them and all those types of things. But in terms of the practice of open relating, I feel like that's really more my wheelhouse. In the
Mm-hmm.
same way that I'm more of a metaphysician and I do the personality analysis and talk about the archetypes, like that's more my wheelhouse. You see what I'm saying? So that's my level of expertise. So I actually live this stuff. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm about that life. I am not up here just saying stuff to say stuff. Like I go deep into the practice of polyamory, open relating in terms of my everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that was a brilliant answer. Like I'm blown away. Um, okay, so here's the thing though, Rakim. A lot of women, not just Kenya, they are picky and choosy. They're very, very picky and choosy about who they want to sleep with. And yes, a lot of women are argumentative. So are you saying that if we were more free-spirited and free-flowing and not so picky, then we would have an easier time with polyamory?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mm,
I mean, what are you arguing about? Like, for example, we talk a lot about dark masculine, right? And how your clients, they're always trying to get their dark masculine to be exclusive. They're trying to force him to go against his nature.
mhm,
You understand? See, that's where the whole issue comes in. That's the beginning of your issues inside your relationships. Is you're trying to focus on this one man and you're trying to make him be something that's not. And all the drama and all the trouble comes out of that situation. But if you just let him be who he is,
mhm,
you see what I'm saying? And instead focus your energy on attracting other dark masculine men and other great relationships, then you'd have a much easier time.
mhm,
Why are you all trying to force this one man to show up in a way that's against his nature and against what he wants to do? That's where the drama and trauma comes up. I do not do that with the women I date.
mhm.
They try to do that with me, like make me exclusive or make me come see them or whatever when I don't want to do that. but I'm not doing that to them. I'm not punishing them like you didn't come see me or you didn't call me or you didn't do this. Like that's I just understand that I'm always going to attract the energy that I desire. So if I don't get it from you, I'm going to get it from the other woman. You see what I'm saying? Like I understand that metaphysically, and that's what people don't understand and why I focus on metaphysics. I understand that I'm always going to attract who and what I am. So if one woman doesn't give me what I want, you best believe I'll attract it somewhere else. You know, whenever I have a breakup, whenever I come out of a relationship, you know, whatever that looks like, I immediately have a new woman because that's who I am. I'm
Let
not
me
going
let me pause you
wrong.
there. Let me pause you there though, because this is what inside of a lot of these anxious attachment Facebook groups, they say that a person who immediately moves on, like that's somebody who they're not willing to go deep. You know, that's why they're so able to quickly move on because they don't want to actually do the work to go deep. So what's your response to that critique?
Yeah, for me specifically, I go deep. You know, I'll marry a partner outside of Kenya. I'll move in with a partner. You see what I'm saying? I'll live with a partner. Like I do go deep. Like so that claim when it comes to me is not true. I agree a lot of men don't want to go deep, just like a lot of women don't. When women are complaining about men not doing this, not doing that, those are the women who don't want to go deep. Wait,
Mhm.
so in other words, instead of trying to get him to fit what's comfortable for you, why don't you go deep into who he is and love him for who he is? But these women refuse to do that. So instead, they try to critique him and criticize him for not changing. No, the issue is that you don't actually love this man. You're not willing to go deep into the intimacy between you and him. You see what I'm saying? Like that's not going deep. I go deep. I'm willing to connect with women on all types of levels. I'm willing to sign mutual bank accounts and go into business with them and express that I love them and if our relationship goes into like a marital situation, I'm willing to do that. Like I don't run from any of that stuff. So that's not the situation with me. Again, I know that there are men who are like that, but there's also mostly women who are like that. These women aren't going deep. They want a man to fit the fantasy of relationships. You see what I'm saying? And they're trying to force him to do that. And when he doesn't do that, they say he's not willing to go deep or he's avoiding. No, you're manipulative.
Mm.
Love him for who he is. If you don't love him for who he is, then leave him alone and go get somebody else. That's my response to that.
Whew. Wow, amazing. All right, let's now talk about Sprinkle Sprinkle, Shira
Sprinkle,
Seven,
sprinkle.
Letitia Padua. She's a really
Okay.
amazing woman. She is married. She does have two daughters that are, I believe, they're teenagers. And she's very smart. She's very much into metaphysics. She has a whole separate channel on YouTube where she goes on and on and on. So she's hardcore into metaphysics. But so here's the first question. Shira 7 encourages women to choose a man based on two things. And these are the two things. The first one is, what can he do for me? And how much does he like me? So, Raquel, would you say that this is a good way for women to increase their feminine dominance?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say that I don't have any issues with Shira Seven.
Mhm,
I think I've watched some of her content.
mhm.
I feel she's extremely smart, very brilliant
Yeah,
woman.
yeah.
And like you said, very metaphysical. I like her spiritual views from what I've seen. So I don't have any critique with her.
Mhm.
In terms of her asking those two questions, I think it's overly simplified.
Okay.
Like what a man can do for you, like that could be a lot of different things for a lot of different women. For a lot of women, what he can do for me is give me good dick. You see what I'm saying? For a lot of women, what he can do for me is like just treat me nice or like so that's so it's long.
She's referring to how much money is he going to spend on me?
Well, okay, so here's the issue I have with that.
Mhm,
And her money message
mhm,
is that violates a lot of what femininity actually is.
mhm,
Okay. So and especially at different stages of a woman's life. For a lot of women, what touches them on a soul level is not the financial piece.
mhm,
Like if a woman were to ignore the fact that she loves a particular man or is in love with a man or loves the sex or loves the sexual connection, or is transmuting that energy to create her life, then a lot of women aren't going to be able to operate. There's one archetype, that's the enlightened feminine,
Mhm.
or actually the divine feminine also, who can operate more in terms of what she's talking about.
Mhm.
And that's where those are usually women that have already had the relationships, they might have had the children already, they might have had the great sex already, and now they're looking to like really focus on the material aspect of their life. So
Yeah.
for those women, I think following her advice is great.
Mm.
But I don't feel women in the first phase of their life are going to really be able to understand it and connect to what she's saying without training and more information.
Mm.
So if she had a class where she's talking about like going deeper and like really training those women, then I would advise those women to take that training. But that's not how the feminine is built. The feminine doesn't really care about just money.
Mm.
That's not who the feminine is. She wants money, but she also wants a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Especially talk about dark feminine. Dark feminine women don't care anything about a man's money because they'll attract it themselves.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot of women who they have zero dependence on a man for money and resources, and they'll attract it themselves and they make it themselves, and they're looking for men for a specific reason, and that is to provide them energy that they can alchemize to create their life. That's it.
Mhm.
So for example, those women, they don't care anything about what she's saying when it comes to focusing on the money aspect.
Yeah.
And a lot of women are like that. A lot of women want a man who can give them the DNA they want for the child they want to birth. You see what I'm saying? A lot of women are looking for just a man who, is can hold space for them and is protective.
Mhm.
And so he might not have a lot of money.
Yeah.
The money thing is really, there's only a certain percentage of women in the population that can really be about the money like that.
Mm.
There's certain women that got a certain look, they got a certain way they carry themselves, they got a certain focus in life. And so what, maybe 10% of all the women in the country can really acquire men who have money and a significant amount of money.
Mhm.
Most women in the country cannot do that.
Hmm. That leads into my next question. So, lots of women want a wealthy man, yet they're not willing or able to put in the work to look as good as Shira Seven. And Shira Seven talks about this a lot. She says over and over, like, you need to look good. So, what do you think accounts for this discrepancy where there's women saying they want what she has, but they're not necessarily putting in the effort to look the way that she looks?
Yeah, I mean, she's right. If you want to attract a man with of means, and this is not all men of means, but the stereotypical men of means, then
Mhm.
yeah, you need to present yourself a certain way.
Mhm.
Same way, if men want a woman who has money, you got
Mm.
to present yourself a certain way. Now, I don't agree that you have to look a particular kind of way to get a man with money, but you do have to present yourself a certain way. You got to at least carry the enlightened feminine energy. So you got to carry yourself with grace. You got to be, kind of like a very pleasant woman to be around. You got
Mhm.
to be somebody who increases his brand, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, you have to look a certain way. You know what I'm saying? It's very important how you present, and that's for anybody. The higher up the echelon you go in terms of people who've got money and they're in particular networks and circles, the way you present is very important.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Now, again, there are a number of men who don't place a heavy thing. That you've seen rich men who they don't dress well and their women don't dress well. They're very casual. You
Mhm.
see what I'm saying? Like they're very casual.
Yeah.
They're not dressed up. They're not
Yeah,
made
like
up.
Mark Zuckerberg and his wife.
Yeah, because there's certain levels of wealth. When you get to uber wealth,
Mhm.
a lot of men and women don't care about that stuff. That's more of a thing like people who are kind of in the middle class and upper middle class, like they're trying to present that way because they're trying to kind of rise up. But the uber wealthy, they don't really give a fuck about that shit.
Okay. Okay.
Like they're looking at the quality of your character, like truly. Like, are you somebody who can protect this fortune? Are you somebody who I can trust? Are you somebody who I can love? The way you present externally isn't going to be the priority for the uber wealthy. I'm just letting you know.
Mm. That makes sense. Okay. So what about women who say, I do want the money from one of these men, but I don't want to actually sleep with any of them. Is that a viable option for women?
Yeah, that's a form of that's being, looking for like a sugar daddy, and it's a form of, it's like really like a form of sex work or escort work. You see what I'm saying?
But
So
they
yeah,
don't want to sleep with him. That's what I'm saying. They don't want to sleep with him.
that's still sex work. So
Okay.
yeah, so what you're doing is you're providing a level of intimacy, not touch,
Mhm.
right? But you're providing a level of intimacy. So, for example, a lot of men will pay women and give them money just to be able to talk to them on a regular basis,
Mhm.
or just to be able to go out to dinner with them, or just to be able to take them to the gala or the ball. You see what I'm saying? Like men, a lot of these men, see a lot of men who have this money, these are like a lot of, men who didn't get women early on, so they became multimillionaires so they can have access to women. So a
Mhm.
lot of these men are actually beta males, and they'll pay money and won't get any sex, and they'll be fine with that because they want to be. I did a video, and I think you liked one of the videos. I said men want to be in the energy field of a woman,
Mhm.
of a dark feminine woman, of a beautiful woman, etc. A lot of men will just pay for that.
Mhm.
They'll pay to just to be around her. So, but that's a form of like, it is a form of like escort and sex work where you are performing.
Mhm.
You're saying, I'm going to be what this particular man wants to be. It's not about love. I don't have any attraction for him. It's not about sex or any of those things. I'm just going to do this so I can make money. That is a business.
Mhm.
It's a form of sex work. So there's plenty of sex work that doesn't involve any sex at all. Like the sex work industry is very vast.
Mhm.
A lot of it's like you see domination, financial domination, like all kinds of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So that's a form of sex work too. Like I'm going to be beautiful for this man, be his fantasy, be his little girl, whatever, in exchange for money.
Yeah. What do you think about Shira Seven's advice to not care about your male provider's physical appearance and just focus on getting the money? Because she said this to many women, and she said blatantly, like, it doesn't matter if he's ugly, it doesn't matter if he's fat, as long as you get the money. Like, that's all you should care about. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, if you're a woman and you've already dated men, you know what I'm saying? You already got kids, you already been married before or whatever, and you're in a different phase of your life where now you're not looking for the great sex, you're not looking for love, you're not looking for connection, then yeah. See, there's certain women who they've been heartbroken, they've been hurt, and they're just looking for the money or the lifestyle or whatever. You see what I'm saying? So for those women, yes. But that's not going to apply to most women, especially younger women. Younger women, they still want the fantasy, they still want love, they still want marriage, they want to be able to look at their husband and feel good about themselves. They want to be able to bring their husband around their family and feel good about themselves. You see what I'm saying? It takes a different kind of woman and man to be with somebody who's not attractive,
Hmm.
um, that you're not attracted to. You see what I'm saying? Like there has to be something else that they're bringing to the table for you to feel good about that. So yes, there's a certain segment of women who can do that, but usually those are women who've already had the experience, already been married before, the kid, the whole thing, already had the great sex, the dark masculines, all that kind of stuff, and now they need to, that they're looking to change their lifestyle. So for those women, yes, very few young women are going to be interested in that.
Hmm.
There will be some, but very few.
Yeah. Well, Shira Seven had children with her husband. Um, But anyway, whatever. So Shira Seven advises women to not waste any time with what she calls dusties, which are, low income or stingy, cheapskate men. Is it possible, in your opinion, Rakim, for women to be satisfied with a man solely due to his willingness to take care of her financially?
Well, no, that's not going to work for all women.
Mhm.
Again, Shira Seven is not a dark feminine.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Like she doesn't require good sex.
Mm.
She doesn't require a man who has good genes and who's actually attractive and stuff like that. She doesn't require those things.
Mhm.
Like a lot of women require those things, especially a dark feminine. A
Mhm.
dark feminine woman cannot be with a man who she's not into, like she's not drawn to, she's not attracted to, and who's not into her. You see what I'm saying? So a dark feminine can't be with somebody just for money. That's not going to do anything for her. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like I said, it depends on the woman. When that's why I introduced the archetypes. That's why women got to pay attention to the enlightened feminine, the dark feminine, and the divine feminine. When you're listening to an influencer, you got to know which one she is.
Yeah.
So, Shira Seven is an enlightened feminine.
Mhm.
So all she cares about is pleasure and safety and having money and that kind of stuff. She doesn't need, and also those women are built different. Enlightened feminine, they accept all people. So even if you don't look good or she's not attracted to you, she can still be accepting of you.
Mhm.
So she can wake up next to somebody she's not attracted to and be okay. All women are not built like that. If you're not an enlightened feminine like that, then you're not going to be okay. Even a divine feminine, where the divine feminine is very accepting and very loving. You see what I'm saying? She's gonna want a king. The divine feminine is akin to the queen archetype. The queen wants a king. She wants somebody who she feels good about, who is going to pass like really solid genes on to her children. You see what I'm saying? It can't just be about money and safety for her. She needs more than that.
So lots of women fear being labeled a pick me or a pick Misha, which is the term Shira Seven likes to use. They're ashamed to admit that they're attracted to or in love with a man who doesn't spend money on them. So how can women gain the courage to admit that money isn't the only thing they value in a man? Also, okay, well, answer that first.
Well, no, back. So repeat that again. I wasn't quite
So
following.
if just say, you're a woman and you're attracted to the man, but he definitely cannot or will not spend money on you. But you don't want other women to call you a pick me, because they're going to be like, well, why are you with him? He has no money. He's not buying you anything. Like, what the hell? Like, how can women gain the courage to admit that, you know what, I don't care that he doesn't have money. I still love him.
Well, yeah, I mean that's part of the feminine initiation. Again, the feminine archetypes are too diverse to fit into one thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just about women pursuing money. Like most women are not going to be on that path. Like the feminine wants too much. She wants love. She wants attraction. She wants great sex. She wants great conversation. She wants to feel safe. She wants all these experiences. You see what I'm saying? She wants kids. She wants family. She wants all these things. So again, you got to look and see, well, who am I within the feminine pantheon? Everybody's not focused on, all these women are not focused on money. Most of the women are not focused on money. You see what I'm saying? So that's just any woman who understands what femininity is knows that they're not going to fit into one particular archetype or way of relating. So, you got to walk in your truth as a woman. It's part of your initiation. Part of your initiation is saying, this is my truth. This is who I am. I'll be accountable for my choices within that truth, but it's what I'm going to do. And so you're always going to get pushback. Everybody gets pushback. You see what I'm saying? Shira gets pushback. All these people get pushback. You've gotten pushback. Everybody gets pushback, but you still got to walk inside your truth because it's your life at the end of the day.
And what about women who are actually pick me's in the sense that, they're jealous, they're insecure, they're obsessed, they're addicted? What advice do you have for women that actually do have pick me traits aside from, because the advice that they're usually told is, leave him, leave the dusty, like stop wasting your time. What would you say to women who actually are pick me's?
Well, a pygmy is not just focused on the dusty. You see what I'm saying? Like for a lot of women, a pygmy is also a woman who chooses a man she's not even attracted to. Like some people could look at Shira Seven and say she's a pygmy. She's like, okay, you married a man you're not even into, like you're not attracted to. You see what I'm saying? And I don't know if she is or not, but I'm just saying like a lot of women. So the definition of the pygmy can vary. It depends on the woman. So, if a woman truly loves the man that she's with, then to me she's not a pygmy. Period. Now, if she's sacrificing herself and her character and her principles and all that stuff just to be with a man to try to get married, then that's a pygmy. You see what I'm saying? So for me, for example, a woman who's just going to be with a man she's not attracted to, but because he's got money, to me, that's a pick me. Or like I said, a level of sex worker. You see what I'm saying? Like you're going to sacrifice, waking up to somebody you actually have respect for and have an attraction to just because, he's able to buy you some things or whatever. Like to me, that could be considered a pick me. So that term, it depends on who's actually saying and what the qualifications are. It can depend. I know what the term means. I mean, they're basically saying women who sacrifice their morals, their values, and their femininity and their livelihood just to be chosen by a man. And usually the man is not even a high quality. But a lot of women do that with high quality men. I see a lot of women with like athletes, or a lot of women with whatever, and it's the same kind of pick me vibes. You see what I'm saying? Men with money, it's like we're looking at you. We know you don't have any respect for this person. We know that half the time you're with him, it's like a cringe, but you're still willing to be with him just because he's got money. To me, that's a pygmy.
Wow.
In my book, that's a pygmy.
Okay.
Again, You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be true to you. If that's what you want to do, then cool. But you got to stand inside that truth. But everybody's gonna judge these women differently in terms of the pick me vibes, and men do the same thing. You see what I'm saying? A lot of men get judged in the same way. Like, dude, why are you with her? Like, you can do a lot better. She's abusive. She's mean. She's not that attractive. Like, what are you actually doing?
Mhm.
So a lot of men are considered, that have that same kind of pick me vibe as well, because they're sacrificing their worth. You know what I'm saying? They're sacrificing their self respect just to be with this woman.
Mhm. All right. So Shira 7 says if a woman is less physically attractive than the man that she's with, then that everyone knows that she's spending money on him. So how can a woman feel good about spending money on her man when people are likely to judge her negatively for her choice?
Well, first of all, fuck what people are saying. So
Mhm.
again, people got to get past that. Other people judging them. Number two, that's not true. If the man is better looking than the woman, right? It doesn't mean she's spending money on him, because we talked about this before. The whole concept of value. There's a lot of really good looking men who are with women who are not as attractive because she's bringing some other things to the table. One, she could be a solid woman. Two, she could be fucking the living life out of this brother. You see what I'm saying? Three, she could be he could hold her in value in terms of being a wife and a mother and that type of thing. Four, they could just be like really cool, like actually get along, like she can actually bring him peace. You see what I'm saying? So, for example, when I look at Brad Pitt and Angela Jolie, in my opinion, Brad Pitt's a better looking man than Angela Jolie is a woman. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know Angela Jolie's considered beautiful in a lot of circles, but when I really look at the both of them standing side by side throughout their life, I don't think it's even close. I think Brad Pitt is way more handsome than Angela Jolie is beautiful. But I don't believe it. So based on that, I don't believe that she's giving him money or whatever. You know what I'm saying? No, I just think they got along really well and they liked each other and that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of men who are with women who are not as good looking, but those women are providing some other amazing value. The only value is not just looks. The
Mhm.
only value is not just money. There's other things on the table that are valuable.
Mhm. Totally makes sense. Okay, switching gears, there's a therapist by the name of Adam Lane Smith, and he wrote about female love bombing. And he says that such women, quote, display overwhelming attraction, interest, and even arousal very fast in aggressive ways to flood their target with the bonding hormone oxytocin, unquote. And that men who are, quote, oxytocin starved, unquote, they respond essentially like a fly to a Venus flytrap. Then the woman's behavior suddenly flip and she becomes chaotic and disruptive, but he's already hooked on her. So what should men do if they are hooked on a woman like this, especially if she just wants his money?
Yeah, if a man's hooked on a woman like that, just needs to get help. So you got to go find somebody who's going to help you out of that situation. A lot of the women who do that with the love bombing, those are women who are trying to get men with money.
Mm,
So they're telling the men that they're handsome and that they're strong and all these things, just to kind of boost their ego so that the men will actually choose to be with them and marry them or whatever. Like these women don't actually like these men.
yeah.
They're not actually attracted to these men, but they got to make it seem like they are. So that's where the love bombing comes in. You see what I'm saying? And so if a man falls prey to that, then he needs to get help. And first, let me just say this: the people who fall prey to love bombing in general, they also need to get help
Mm,
just in general, like even apart from the relationship. Because why are you susceptible to that kind of thing? Like, it's not true. You see what I'm saying? Like, love bombing, the reason why it's called love bombing is because it's excessive.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And if you're the kind of person that really gravitates towards excessive compliments and excessive, you see what I'm saying? Like things that blow your head up like that, like you got an issue, man.
Mm,
Like and a lot of women and men seek out these people
mm,
because it feels good. Like you said, the oxytocin and the dopamine and all that kind of stuff starts running, and it's like you have an addiction,
mm,
or which is based and rooted in a lack of self love
mm,
and a lack of self esteem.
yeah.
So you're seeking people who are going to tell you you're great, you're great, you're great. You see what I'm saying? I love you, I love you, I love you. And you gotta get help for that, man, because that's an imbalance for real.
That reminds me of the reel that I sent you where this woman was saying that her husband, he swept her off her feet. They had the fairy tale romance and the wedding, and then he took all her money.
Right. Yeah. And we've seen women do that to men historically.
Mhm.
They they say all the right things, fuck their man really good, all that kind of stuff, get married, and marriage might even last a year. You know what I'm saying? And then she divorces him and takes half his money.
Exactly.
It's just a game. That's what I was trying to tell. Like I was telling athletes, I'm like, look, and this is people who are rich and famous. I'm like, look, just because you have money, it doesn't make you more attractive. So if you have money, it makes you more desirable to be with because of the lifestyle you can offer people.
Mhm.
You understand? But it doesn't make you more attractive. It doesn't increase your level on the attractive scale. Maybe 1 point because you can groom yourself better and buy better clothes, but you're not more attractive. So a lot of these athletes think just because they make money that they can help go be with like a 10, a 9 or a 10. Like, dude, you know what I'm saying? You're still like a 5 or a 6 on the scale. You shouldn't think that you can that this woman who's a 10 loves you for you or is attracted to you because or whatever. No, she just wants the lifestyle. So people need to understand that. I know there's a lot of focus on money, 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 but the truth is it doesn't increase who you are as a man or a woman. And women have got to understand that a lot of women who have money, like a lot of actresses and stuff like that, like they think that the money somehow puts them in a higher echelon on the beauty scale. It does not. You see what I'm saying? You are still the same girl in drama school, in high school and college. But so the men that you pulled back then are pretty much the same ones that you need to pull now. And so a lot of folks just need to get their head in the game. There's a lot of misinformation about this whole money thing. Like money makes you high value, more attractive. It doesn't. The money allows you to offer people a lifestyle, and that's what they want. They don't want you.
Okay, so let's now talk about Yada Awakening. He's a male influencer. He is married, and he. Okay, let me just get into the questions.
Right.
Why do women feel so attracted to the idea of being with a man like Yada, who he says he pays his wife 150,000 US dollars every year per child until they turn 18, and who makes sure that she lives a soft life? Is this a reasonable aspiration for most, well, let's say Black women specifically, but women in general? Should they be aspiring to be with somebody like Yada?
Well, I just feel like somebody like Yada is just. I mean, first of all, the figures that he's talking about, 150 a year per child,
Mhm.
like that, nobody's doing that. Like I don't know anybody. I don't even know billionaires who are doing that. Like it's not like a real thing.
Okay.
So it's not like if any woman is like thinking that she's actually going to attract that, that's she must be a dark feminine or something. You see what I'm saying? Um, so I don't think women should expect that. I mean, if they want a man to take care of them and provide, I think that's fair.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? That's realistic. But the stuff he's talking about, I think a lot of the feedback and pushback that he gets is because it's just too extreme. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, let's say that you actually are doing that. Good for you, brother. But that's 0.0001% of the men in the country who are able to actually do that. Um, and so it's just not something that's realistic. But I understand why women are drawn to it. Like,
Mhm.
who wouldn't want to get 150 a year for doing nothing? You know what I'm saying? For just being married and being in a house and be
Giving birth.
and don't have to work. You see what I'm saying? Like we all have. Everybody's got that fantasy. We
Mhm.
all want 150 a year for doing nothing, for being a husband, a wife, a father, a mother. You see what I'm saying? Like everybody wants that. That's why it's attractive.
Mhm.
So it has nothing to do with it being real. Women are going to entertain it because it's a great fantasy.
Do you feel that Black men should strive to follow in Yada's footsteps?
Well, if black men want to be providers, I think it's cool. Yeah, you can be a provider. In terms of, if you want to be able to make the kind of money where you could pay 150 a year, I think it's great. If your goal and your focus is to be rich in that way, then I think it's great. But I don't think black men need to internalize that lifestyle and think if they're not able to do that, there's something wrong with them. That's the issue with it.
Mhm.
is him trying to paint as like this is a normal thing, like all men should be doing this.
Yeah.
No, he's just a short man who's trying to, you know, present himself in a way where he can feel superior on some level.
Mhm.
It's a lot of Napoleon complex
Mhm.
stuff going on with him.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Kendrick Lamar thing. You see what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
there's a lot of Napoleon complex stuff happening, and you're presenting things that are so over the top it doesn't make any sense. And the question is, well, where's that coming from? Oh, it's because you're 5'1".
Mhm. Wow. I recently saw a reel where Yada advised a man who was working 16 hours per day to support his family that he's a great man. So, what are your thoughts on this? Should men be encouraged to work 16 hours per day to be the breadwinner?
I think the idea and the willingness of a man to do what he's got to do to provide, I think is great.
Mhm.
16 hours a day is not ideal. Now, if you're a young man, then I feel it's definitely appropriate. And there's a lot of men out there who do work those hours. They're
Mhm.
just like they're hustling, they're go getters, or they work in the kind of industry that requires them to work those kind of hours. Like I was working a job that required almost, more like 12 to 14.
Wow.
Just the nature of the work. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
a man being able to work like that and do what's required to provide for his family, I think is a great thing. I don't suggest like again, it's not a thing like if you're not working 16 hours a day, there's an issue with you.
Mhm.
I don't think men should internalize that. But if he has the willingness to work and do what's required to support his family, that's a great thing. So I
Mhm.
do support, men working in that way and doing what they got to do to make sure their family is cool.
Mhm. Yeah, my son works at the Amazon warehouse, and he tells me that a lot of the men that work there, they're Indian, and they have a wife, they have kids, they have family back home in India, and so he said those men like they work like 6, 7 days a week, like they work like dogs, like they're just like they have to support their family, but that's what they're doing,
Yep,
and making sure that their family's provided for, even if it kills them.
absolutely.
So, okay. All right. Is it possible for a woman to attract a financial provider like Yada and marry him and be polyamorous? Do you think that a man like Yada can accept polyamory?
Yeah, I think a lot of rich men accept polyamory. Like a lot of people don't know that a lot of rich men, like they are polyamorous.
Mm,
At the very least, they're in what we call the lifestyle, where they, you know, set up sessions for their wife to have sex with other men.
mm,
See, a lot of these men are very practical. A lot of these men are very smart, and so
mhm,
they understand that their wife needs a certain level of sexual interaction and connection with the masculine, and that he's not able to provide all that.
mm,
Like a lot of men, like don't think a lot of these breadwinner guys and these rich men are stupid.
mhm,
Like a lot of them do know that she's only with me because of the money. You see what I'm saying? And
mhm,
so if they're not insecure about that, then they're willing to be polyamorous or they're willing to, go to lifestyle events and those types of things and allow their women to have sex and get other male contact and stuff like that. Like most people aren't really in those circles, so they don't understand it. Like
yeah,
it seems like a foreign thing, but no, these things happen all the time. Like these men, rich men, are
yeah.
taking their women, especially the white men are taking the women to get fucked by black guys all the time.
Mhm,
So yes, if a woman wants to be with a rich man who's a provider and also poly, it's totally possible. There's this sister, you probably know her. You've seen her online. The black girl's married to the big white guy, muscular white guy, the bald white guy.
mhm,
She just talked about how she's getting another husband. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So this stuff happens all the time. Like again, this is the whole point of the women's empowerment movement, which is women having the choices to have the lifestyle they want. So
mhm,
if a woman wants to be polyandrous, where she's got multiple husbands who are all fidelists to her, they can create that. If she wants to be polyamorous, where everybody's doing their thing and the man's taking care of her, then she can do that. Like as a woman, you can have whatever you want. That's the whole point. You
mhm,
know, what I preach with my coaching and my philosophy is not like there's a particular structure you got to fit into. My philosophy is like, look, if you're a woman or a man and you want to create a lifestyle for yourself, you can do that. Here's how you do it though, because a lot of these lifestyles they go against the grain to the point where you're going to really reach into your spiritual power in order to make it happen.
mhm,
But yeah, I think all these things can happen and they do happen. Women are living this right now today. The exact scenario you described, women are living this right now today. People don't understand, like most of these married couples, especially the ones with money, they are actually poly. They just don't do it openly.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
then most of them are poly.
yeah.
Bill Gates was poly. Warren Buffett was, all these people are poly, man. So just people got to stop thinking that, everybody's monogamous. It's not. Only like poor and middle class people really hang on and cling to that monogamy. Not even poor, middle class cling on to monogamy very tightly.
That makes perfect sense. I was listening to a guy named Steve Pavlina some years back, and he is a multimillionaire, and he is openly polyamorous with his wife. But he was saying in his course that he has a lot of wealthy friends who uh, their marriage is not monogamous, but they won't say it publicly because they don't want the hassle, they don't want it to affect their business and all that. But he was saying that like most of his wealthy friends, they are non-monogamous.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the key. Like a lot of these people that you do business with, they're like Christians or they're very judgmental and stuff like that, or they're political. And so they have to present a certain way. And the way you present in our culture and Western culture and in capitalism and stuff like that is, monogamous, Christian, and wholesome and family oriented. When you present that way, you're considered to be a good person and safe. You see what I'm saying? When you get into like a lot of weird stuff, like different fetishes and different lifestyle choices, that's when people start to look at you kind of weird and maybe not being as safe. So people present that particular way in most cases. That's why people think everybody's monogamous, because people are required to present as monogamous, especially when they have money. But behind the scenes, none of these people are monogamous, man. Like when me and Kenya say human beings are not monogamous, this is what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like in actuality, they're not monogamous. No human being is actually monogamous. So yeah, when you get into these circles, and most people haven't been in these circles, which is why they don't understand this. But when you get into these circles and meet these people and go to these parties and go to these events, you'll see that these people are not monogamous. These rich people are not monogamous at all. It's not even close.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But they can't do it publicly because they're a part of religious organizations and all that kind of stuff. So that's what's happening.
Yeah. I don't feel like Yada would be okay with his wife having sex with other men.
No, I agree. I don't think he would either. But part of that's because of the whole Napoleon complex.
Mm,
He's insecure about himself.
mm.
Any man who's giving his wife $150,000 a year every year till the
For a
child
child.
per child, there's an insecurity in that. Why do you feel you need to do that? What is she going to do with that money? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the need for that? Like, there's no need for you're compensating for, you're trying to compensate for something. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like his advice is dangerous if men are going to try to take it at face value and try to be that. It's not right. No, you don't have to do that. It's not, love is not require that. Being a good father and husband doesn't require that. That's over the top. So no, I believe he probably has some insecurities. He would never be polyamorous. There's no way he's gonna let some brother walk in there who's 6'8". You see what I'm saying? Muscle buff, come in there and be up in his woman. He's probably too mentally and psychologically insecure for that.
Mm. Do you think that some men truly are dusty bums?
What is a dusty bum?
Well, he always says no dusty bums allowed. So I guess he means men who they don't have any money.
Well, I mean, men who like are not trying to achieve, men who are just trying to use people, use women and other men. You see what I'm saying? Like men, they're just on the game all day. They're not out trying to get jobs. They're not trying to be the best they can possibly be for themselves. They're not looking to strive for anything. Like to me, that's what a dusty would be. So yeah, if you're with a man and he's got no ambition, like I used to talk to this sister and she was with a guy, he was living with her and had no ambition. She's out working all day, all night, and he's at home just chilling on the game, driving her car. Like, yeah, like somebody like that is a dusty.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Like he's not doing the ambition, and he wasn't giving her the sex that he was in the beginning of the relationship.
Oh.
So yeah, if you're not a man, you're not providing value, and you're not striving to provide value, then yeah, I believe that could be a dusty. Absolutely.
Mm. How do you feel about Black women seeking wealthy men outside of their race? So if just say there's not enough wealthy black men to choose from, do you think it's okay for black women to get with a wealthy white man?
Absolutely. I think, black women can marry and date whoever they want, any race, any whatever. You see what I'm saying? Um, again, if she's just focused on meeting somebody with money, then again, she's kind of working. You know what I'm saying? She's not really looking for love per se. If she's looking for love, then that's great. But again, I don't think anybody should be restricted or feel like they got to be restricted to a particular race of people. That's not how love works. A lot of times, love is stronger across racial lines.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Like, the further you are apart, the more the attraction is, the stronger the attraction in a lot of cases. So that's the whole thing about white and black coming together is a very strong attraction because of the diversity of the two people.
Mhm. The thing is, and I've seen some of the men comment on your Instagram, and they've indicated that they are not comfortable with the idea of black women turning to white men.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not just these black men who are uncomfortable with it. There's a lot of lesbian black women who are uncomfortable with it. You know what I'm saying? They would rather these women turn to women rather than going to men outside their race. You
Okay.
see what I'm saying? So
Okay.
yeah, everybody's going to want to maximize the pool of available options for them. So they're going to steer people towards them. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, black men are saying, yeah, date us. But white men are saying, well, date up. You see what I'm saying? Like everybody's going to try to focus on themselves in
Mhm.
terms of who they're going to suggest that you be with.
Mhm.
So that's just to me a human thing.
Okay. All right. So, last question, or maybe second last. Do you feel that a low-income woman can have a healthy, satisfying, long-term relationship with her dark masculine man? Why or why not?
Can a low income woman
She
have a
doesn't
healthy?
really have her money together. She's struggling. Can it work?
Yeah, most women who are with dark masculine men are low income women. You know what I'm saying? Like
Still.
I know a lot of people that talk like it's all these wealthy women or women with the dark masculine. No, most of the women who are with dark masculines don't have a lot of money. You see what I'm saying? Like again, most people in general don't have a lot of money. So, yeah, you have a lot of women who are dark masculine or dark feminines, and they're with dark masculine. Or a lot of women who just like want to experience a dark masculine and they don't have anything to show for themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah, they can be with the dark masculine and have a fulfilling relationship. Absolutely. The money thing is not a real thing. That stuff got injected over the past 5-10 years because of some influencers focus, but it's not a real thing. Women, the feminine doesn't really care about money like that.
Mhm.
That's not the number one her priority. That's why these women have to preach this stuff. Like
Mhm.
focus on the money, because women don't certainly don't really care about that. They want good sex, they want great communication, they want a man that they're attracted to, they want love and all that kind of stuff. They
Mhm.
don't care about the money thing like that. That's why these women are out here trying to push it and push it and push it.
Mhm. Well, the reason I asked that is because, like, with you specifically, it just it seems like you gravitate more towards women who do have money. Am I off base here?
Yeah, you're way off base.
I'm way off base. Okay.
Yeah, my ex-wife didn't have any money. You always talk about Crystal. She didn't have no like a lot. Most women I date, for me, it's not about money.
Okay.
I don't focus on money, and I don't focus on like stereotypical looks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
I focus on energy. I focus on connection. I focus on the sexuality of it all. I focus on the friendship, like stuff like that. My best relationships have not, these are not women with money. Like Asina, Angela, none of these women have money like that. You see what I'm saying? Like, but I had the best time, the best connection with these women.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Because we got along. Like again, I prefer peace. I prefer great times. I prefer great connection. I
Mhm.
don't care about the money thing like that. I've had the opportunity to be a woman with a lot of money, but it's just I've had women offer to buy me condos. You see what I'm saying? But that don't get my dick hard.
Okay, but it does seem like the women that you are prioritizing at this time, um, those two women have money. Like they're financially very comfortable and they're your priorities. So I'm confused, Rakim.
I think that's just if they have money, I think it's just coincidence.
It's a coincidence.
I definitely didn't choose them or start dating because of their financial situation.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the women that you're probably talking about, I didn't even know they really had even that kind of money or stability like that until months and months after dating them, to be
Okay.
honest. And
Mhm.
they don't. What you're calling money is not really money like that. It's just like a certain level of financial stability.
Okay.
No, I don't focus on the money thing at all.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're fine with being with a woman with no money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I'll take you at your word.
I
Um,
had
mhm.
not to say most of the women I've dated had not had money like that.
Okay. And you're cool with that.
Absolutely.
I do. Okay. I feel that having money does make things work. But like I know that money's not the attractor, in terms of making your penis hard, but having money makes the relationship, in my opinion, I feel like it works a lot better, especially if you're long distance. It just makes things run more smoothly when the money is there.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the key.
Mhm.
If the women with money are acknowledging that they have money, but that doesn't take the place of them looking good or however they look, then it can work for me.
Mhm.
The issue is a lot of the women, like they'll have money, right? And
Okay.
they'll try to leverage that money. Like that's supposed to make my dick hard or something.
Okay.
And so when my dick doesn't get hard because you're rich and you get offended by that, that's the end. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna put myself in that situation. But if you understand, like, look, you have the money, but you still need to do the things I need you to do.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? So that I can be attracted to you or be connected to you or whatever it is. If you understand that, then we're good. A lot, this is with the men too. When people have money, they get confused. They think that there's something that they're not. No, you are the same person you were 20 years ago, but now you have money. So the way you look, the way you fuck, you see what I'm saying? The way you communicate, all that's still the same. So in terms of what that was from an attraction standpoint back then, that's how it is now.
Mhm.
All the money can really do is like we go to nicer restaurants, maybe have some extra clothes or a few vacations or nicer spots. That's pretty much about it. It's really about lifestyle. It's not about you as the person as the individual. I've had the opportunity to date women with a lot of money, and no, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not you have to have your mind right. And too many times money messes up people's heads. They think that because they got money, that means something. Yeah, that means something to somebody who's trying to use you or somebody who's insecure, but not to somebody like me who can give a fuck.
Okay. Okay. So my question then is because there's been times where in our relationship where, when my money situation went up, even though it was temporary, but I felt like the times when like I was doing well financially, like it seemed like you were more attracted to me.
Well, I think when you're doing well financially, that you treat me better.
Mm,
I think you're not as anxious, you don't have as much stress, you're
mm,
not taking your lack out on me. You see what I'm saying? So
mm.
there's more peace. So
Okay.
yeah, money's really good for that. Like I think a lot of the issues that people have in relationships are financially based. Like
Mhm.
y'all just poor. You see what
Mm,
I'm saying? Y'all in this tight house. You don't have enough space to spread out. You don't have your own rooms. You're working yourselves to death. You see what I'm saying? The kids are in your face. You don't have enough help. Like a lot of issues people face in relationships and families and marriages is really financially based.
mm.
You guys are too tight. You're too stressed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, when you have money, you can relax a little bit. You can go to the spa, you can do what you got to do, and now you're not in my face complaining because you're broke.
Mhm.
So yeah, we do get along better. You know,
When I'm
like
wrong.
money does that.
Well, okay, because when I've observed you historically, okay, so for example, you had a girlfriend, I won't say her name, and she was well off, and at that time you had like a multitude of girlfriends, but you were spending the majority of your time with her. Because every time you went to see her, she would take you out. You would go to the baseball game. Like she just treated you so well because she had all this money, and you were spending more time with her than any of your other girlfriends.
No,
So, okay,
I think you're confusing that a little bit. The
okay,
reason why I spent more time with her and what her money allowed her to do, she could fly me out whenever she wants to. You know what I'm saying? The other women I was dating, at that time they were all long distance.
Mhm.
So the time you're talking about, I didn't have any like local girlfriends. They were all long distance.
Mhm.
So yeah, if a girlfriend has money and she can fly me out whenever she wants, then yeah, I'm going to be able to see her more. That's the only difference. It wasn't because I just want to see her more and not the others. No, the difference is you can create a scenario where I can leave and come see you, and it doesn't negatively impact my family or any of that kind of stuff.
Mhm. So
So I
then
don't
that is leverage.
say what.
That is leverage then, because you're saying the women would have money, they shouldn't leverage their money, but she leveraged her money and she got more time with you than anyone else.
Well, yeah, I'm saying when I say leverage, I mean from the standpoint of thinking that the money changes how I view you and my attraction to you. But yeah, women should they should leverage their money. I've always said that. I've always told you, like women who with money, and especially with a dark masculine, they need to spend it. You see what I'm saying? The same way men spend money on women, women need to spend money on men if they want to see them, if they want to spend time, because money allows you to do that.
Mhm.
So when I'm coaching dark feminine, I'm like, if you want to see your man, you need to buy him a ticket.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Because that you have the ability to do that. Why act like a poor woman when
Mhm.
you're not?
Mhm.
So a lot of the issues, again, like a lot of issues people have in relationships is because of just their poverty situation.
Yeah.
They don't have the money to really like create the time and space to be together. So if you're a dark feminine or a dark masculine or whoever, and you have money, you should use that money so you can see the person you want to be with. That's my philosophy.
Mhm. Okay, so leverage it to get the time that you want with him, but don't assume that just because you have money, his dick's gonna get hard for you.
Absolutely, because the woman you're talking about, my attraction for her was what it was. It wasn't super high.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I think she knew that, understood that, and she compensated other ways. Like she really engaged me in a way that acknowledged that I was the more handsome person out in the relationship,
Mhm.
and so that worked. She wasn't waiting on me to act like, oh my God, you're just so beautiful. You see what I'm saying? And I gave her plenty of compliments and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, like she wasn't she wasn't disillusioned about who she was compared to me. Where like I've had previous relationships where the woman was upset because I didn't look at her as though she was the prize and the dime from a looks perspective.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
like, no, I'm still the prize. You see what I'm saying? I'm still like, I know I look good.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I know I look better than you in the relationship. I'm still attracted to you. I still want to have sex. I still want to do all the things.
Okay, so
But
this
don't
this is where some women get tripped up, Rakim, is that they have the money. They can easily buy him a plane ticket anytime. You know, they could spend as much time with him as they want. They could hire him to work for their company. Like they have the resources
Yep,
to have the time that they want to have with him. That's not an issue.
yep.
Then they get tripped up because they're like, okay, I have him here, you know, I can buy him a plane ticket whenever, but like he doesn't think I'm the most beautiful woman in the world.
Right, because you're not. He's the dime, not you. See, that's what I talk about people. That's what I talk about people get confused with the money thing. See, you have money, right? And
Mhm.
so now you want to date a dime,
Mhm.
okay? Where before you had the money, you couldn't do that. But now you got the money, you want to do that, right?
Mhm.
But and you get mad when he doesn't see you as a dime. You're
Yeah.
not a dime. You're the same woman you were, but now you have money.
Oh my gosh. Rakim, do you understand? This doesn't feel good to women.
I know it doesn't feel good, but I'm just trying to help them understand because they can be the dime, but they have to do the inner work to become the dime. You understand? And so it's not just an automatic thing. Women come into money and men do the same thing. They come into money and think, oh, now I'm attractive. That's not how it works. You have to engage in universal law number 8, the law of beauty and artistry, which is where you generate the beauty from within and you become the dime from within. It's got nothing to do with money. You see what I'm saying? Beauty is a lifestyle. Beauty is a belief system. You see what I'm saying? You got to tap into that, and then you will be looked at as the beautiful woman, the beautiful queen, the handsome man, the handsome prince. It's
Mhm.
not about money. So what happens is people get money, they try to get with a dime.
Yeah.
Then they get triggered when the dime doesn't look at them as a dime. No, that's the value that he's bringing.
Yeah.
That's why you want him because he's a beautiful man or a beautiful woman. You understand?
Mhm.
So your value is you have the money.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, if you want to be looked at as the dime, then you date on your level.
Mm.
Or, like I said, you participate in the religion of beauty.
Okay.
You know, universal law number 8, the law of beauty and artistry. You get into that. And then you will see people, you know, you'll see beautiful people, beautiful men respect you and look at you in that way. But
Mhm.
that's a whole separate path.
Mhm.
Again,
But
this whole money thing to me has got people really, really confused.
yeah. You said in a previous episode that the money and beauty that falls under the category of the lover archetype, both money and beauty. So my question to you that so okay, if a woman is making a lot of money through feminine energy, is that not sexually arousing to you at all?
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, to a degree, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't
like,
erase who
okay.
it doesn't erase how she looks. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, that is beautiful. And but
Okay.
it's not just making money. It's also the way she spends that money on me.
Mm,
I'm still the dime. You
mm,
understand? So the law of beauty and artistry says, yeah, like again, so that means I'm Oshun. I'm the lover. You see what I'm saying? So you have to spend on me and lavish me and stuff like that. Like that's attractive to me.
mm,
It's not just the fact you make money, it's how you spend it, how you use it. You see what I'm saying? So if you just spending money that's on your bank account, that's not really that attractive.
mm,
That's more of a masculine thing. You
mm.
see what I'm saying? But if you're sharing, if you're spending on me, like we're doing stuff together, you're creating environments that are like fun and pleasurable, then we're talking.
That's where a lot of women get tripped up is that like they could spend the money on him, but they're like, oh, I don't want to do it because then he's just using me. And they don't do it. They don't spend the money, even though they could.
Yeah. I mean, those women are gonna be, those women are gonna be they're gonna, what I'm saying, they're gonna be passed over. They're caught in the we're in this transition where women are coming to their empowerment. And so they're caught in the middle. They're still trying to straddle the fence, like they're trying to be the old way.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Like get the benefits of the old system while also getting some of the benefits of the new system. So that group of women, most of them probably won't be able to figure it out. So they're gonna kind of matriculate out of this lifetime without the full fulfillment because they don't really understand who they are and how they need to be. They're still too caught up in the old way. You see what I'm saying? But the new women who are coming in, where it's not going to be a big deal for a woman to make money and spend it, those women are going to be just fine. They're going to spend the money as they see and need fit. They're not going to think that money means anything about them personally. You see what I'm saying? In terms of their attractiveness or that kind of stuff or sexual attractiveness, and they're going to have the right context for it. Just like with a man, have your women group ask you this: if a man makes a lot of money, does that make him more physically attractive? Yes or no? The answer is no.
Mhm.
He's the same physical attractive with money or no money.
Mhm.
Now, does it make him more desirable to be with? Yes,
Yes, yes, yeah.
yes, but not more physically attractive.
No, no, no,
And that's all we're saying.
no.
Now, now why women don't understand that applies to them too when it's reversed, I don't know.
Mm.
But what she should be doing is the same thing the men should be doing, right? Create the environment so we can come together and have fun together and spend time together and make love together in beautiful places and stuff like that. Now that's just attractive.
Mhm.
That's just
Okay,
arousing.
so I'll ask about me personally then. So just say, I'm making multiple six figures and I'm paying for you to come see me every month and I'm paying to talk to you and I'm just lavishing you with like I'm spending like 10 to 20 grand on you a month and I still have plenty left over for myself and my family and this and that. Can you explain to my listeners how that would be attractive to you as a man?
Well, that would be attractive to me because you're spending the money on me and on us. So the fact that you think highly enough of me, where you would spend money on me and you would lavish me with gifts and you would create environments for us where we could actually come together and have fun and have great sex and do all those things, that's very attractive to me. That's very desirable for me. That feels good to me. You understand?
Make
So
your dick hard?
that's the translation. Go ahead.
Does it make your dick hard?
Yeah, because you brought me to the islands. You see what I'm saying? You bought a suite, and we're eating grapes and drinking champagne. You see what I'm saying? And you're investing in me. That does make my dick hard. Yes. Not the fact that you just have money, but the fact that you're willing to, spend that on us, coming together, having these great times, and spend it on me. Yes, that makes my dick hard. Absolutely.
All right, Rakim, thank you so much for being on my podcast. I really appreciate you. Where can people follow you, find you, and hire you?
They can follow me on Instagram, Rakem Sekou, RAKHEMSEKU. You can also email me directly, rakemsekou@gmail.com.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Peace and blessings.